Hello there, grade 4. For today, you will have this additional activities regarding rounding off, and this topic will be about estimating. Okay, so you're going to estimate the sum. What do you mean by sum? Sum refers to when we add, the answer when we add, and the difference refers to the answer when we subtract. Okay? So for pages 34, 35, and 36, you are asked to round off to a certain place value rather. You're asked to round off to a certain place value for numbers. Like for example, round off to the nearest tens and estimate the sum. So assuming that you have already mastered the process of rounding off, all you have to do now, for example, let's say 438 plus 142. Okay, again, the instruction says round off to the nearest tens and estimate the sum. So all you have to do here is to round off these values first to the nearest tens, so which in this case, since it only says tens, or you're only supposed to round off this value. Well, of course, retrieving the hundreds value or what is left. Okay, so which means, like what I've said earlier, assuming that you have already mastered the process of rounding off, 438 will become 440, while 142 will become 140. So all you have to do now is to add everything, which will give you 580. So which means in this activity, instead of adding this, you're supposed to round off their values first to the nearest place value that is being asked, and then do the sum or difference. Okay? So ganun lang kadali. Let's say we have 387 minus 200 and let's say 49. Okay. So this time it says minus. All you have to do is to round off again. Assuming again that you have already mastered. If you're still having difficulty in rounding off, you can go back to our video of last week about rounding off. So in this case, let's say the same rule pa rin, still in tens. Again ha, take note of the instructions that is being said in your paper. I mean sa photocopy ninyo because not all kasi may book eh. Okay. So meron kasi for example for A, round off the following numbers to the nearest tens and estimate their values. Sa B naman, parehas lang. Tens pa rin naman. For letter C, saka pa sinasabi nearest 100. And for letter D, nearest 100 pa rin. So halos the same lang. For letter E, you are asked to do both tens and hundreds. Okay, so that's basically it. Ganyan lang kadali, okay? So let's say, assuming tens pa rin tayo. So we have 390 minus 250. Okay, assuming that you have mastered na nga. Fast forward lang to para you will know what to do in your activity, okay? So doing so, pag subtract ninyo ng lahat ng yan, this will give you a final answer of 140. Teacher Mark, how did you get 140? Okay, so all you have to do is just to do this. Don't forget to align them according to their place value so that you won't get lost. Okay? So subtract tayo. Nothing minus nothing is nothing. 9 minus 5. Okay, or 9 take away 5 makes more sense, no? 9 take away 5. If you're going to take away 5 from 9, it will give you 4. 3 take away 2 will give you 1. So that's how I was able to get 140. So our final answer here will be 140. Okay? So if you're asked to round off to the hundreds, all you have to do is just to round it off to the hundreds. Ganun lang kadali. Kung hundreds, let's say 347. Did I use the same exact number? 347 minus 128. Okay. Now, let's say that the instruction says round off to the nearest hundreds and estimate their values. Okay. Nearest hundreds na. Assuming that you know that you have mastered the process of rounding off again, 347 rounded off to the nearest hundreds will become 300. And 128 to the nearest hundreds will become 100 alone, which will leave you to 200. Okay? So that's it for your activity for today. And on Thursday, you're going to learn how to factor a number.